Today's show is sponsored by the Electric Vehicle Association. Join up to support the electrification of transport and get the help you need to finance your own EV or clean energy future. And by the 10th annual Tesla raffle from GZ Chicago. Head to the link below and use the code TRANSPORTEVOLVED to get $25 off 2 tickets. And by Atmos Financial. Bank better with a financial technology company that's powered by a portfolio of clean energy investments. And if you've been waiting to get tickets for this year's Everything Electric in Vancouver, Canada this September, stick around until later in the show to find out how you can support this channel and get 20% off your tickets. Welcome back to another episode of TEN, Transport Evolved News. Thanks for joining me. We start today's show with a little roundup from quarterly earnings reported by various automakers in the segment. And as usual, figures are quoted in US dollars. Tesla held its earning call midweek, at which it recorded quarterly revenue of $25.5 billion, 3.07% higher than the $24.74 billion Wall Street was expecting. However, while it beat on revenue, it missed its earnings per share, reporting an adjusted EPS of 52 cents versus the 62 cents expected. One half of Tesla's profits last quarter came from the sale of regulatory credits to other automakers who are not yet meeting their EV targets. Meanwhile, Ford also posted its earnings this week, leading to its worst daily decline since 2008. While Ford reported a 6% increase in revenue to $47.8 billion, better than Wall Street had hoped, it fell dramatically short on its earnings, with an adjusted EPS of 47 cents per share versus the 64 cents expected. Much of Ford's poor performance was down to increased pressure in the market, with EVs especially experiencing increased losses due to the current EV price war. While Ford is still predicting an overall profitable year, it predicts its Model E EV division will lose up to $5.5 billion over the course of the year. GM also posted its quarterlies this week, beating Wall Street expectations for both revenue and earnings. Its revenue of $47.97 billion was significantly higher than the $45.46 expected, and its earnings per share rose to $3.06 versus the $2.75 expected. Despite this, however, GM did report significant losses in its electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle, and Chinese market segments. Despite this, GM says it hopes its EVs will be profitable on a production or contribution margin basis by the fourth quarter of this year. Also reporting this week was Stellantis, which suffered a pretty terrible quarter, reporting a first-half revenue of $92.1 billion, down 14% on the same period last year. It warned that poor sales in North America have made significant impacts to its overall profitability. It ended the first half of the year with a net profit of $6.07 billion, down 48% on the first half of last year. We'll be covering more earnings reports in the coming weeks, so let us know if you like how we're reporting them. Official EPA ranges have been published for Porsche's refreshed 2025 model year Taycan family of EVs, and thanks to some significant tweaks underneath, it's an impressive improvement. Porsche's Performance Battery Plus, the largest battery you can opt for with the Taycan, is up from 83.4 kilowatt-hours usable in last year's model to 97 kilowatt-hours usable for this year. The most efficient variant, the entry-level Taycan with 19-inch wheels and rear-wheel drive, can now manage 318 miles, 511 kilometers per charge from that battery, while even the Turbo S variants of both the Taycan and Taycan Cross Turismo get a welcome boost of around 20% more range compared to last year's models. We've made no secrets about the fact that we love the Kia EV6 GT, and we think it's one of the best performance EVs on sale for its money today. But thanks to its sibling, the IONIQ5 N from Hyundai, it's about to get even better. That's according to reporting from the Korean car blog, which claims that the updated Kia EV6 GT, due later this year, will feature some of the same performance features found in the recently launched Hyundai IONIQ5 N. Both cars occupy the halo position in their respective lineups, and given that they're based on the same eGMP platform, the refreshed Kia EV6 GT will gain many of the features debuted on the IONIQ5 N, including a longer-range battery pack, refreshed interior and infotainment, and a virtual gear shift for petrolheads who miss manual transmissions. 2024 was, according to many, the year we would see autonomous vehicles become mainstream, shuttling us from place to place in major cities around the world. But just as some of its rivals have discovered that autonomous driving isn't as easy as it looks, GM's autonomous division Cruise has confirmed that the Cruise Origin Robotaxi has now officially been cancelled, to be replaced instead at some point in the future by a fleet made up of next-generation autonomous Chevrolet Bolt EVs. The pod-like design of the Cruise Origin first debuted 4 years ago, but production woes, combined with hemorrhaging of cash at Cruise as it dealt with accident after accident, sealed the fate of its autonomous pods. It hopes the future Bolt EV-based vehicles will be far cheaper to build. Rivian CEO RJ Scarage opened up in an interview to The Verge this week on why he feels Volkswagen's recent investment and partnership with Rivian will succeed where Ford and Mercedes-Benz previous partnerships failed. Talking candidly about the 2 prior failed partnerships, he explained that Rivian's onboard vehicle architecture, which is unlike the system used by most legacy automakers, was always the biggest sticking point in vehicle partnerships. While Rivian's system, like Tesla's, represents massive savings over traditional automotive CAN-based systems, it presented too much of a challenge for legacy automakers wanting to keep their systems in use. But Volkswagen, as he explained, came to Rivian explicitly because it wants to develop next-generation in-vehicle networks, something Rivian, like Tesla, is experienced in. Aptera published its official July update video this week, and as expected, it's confirmed that it will not be using in-wheel motors on its launch edition of the Aptera solar electric car. When the vehicle was first unveiled in its refreshed form, Aptera stated that it would make use of in-wheel motors from European specialist Elaphe, and all of its prototypes to date have used in-wheel motors. But as Aptera co-founder Steve Fambro explained in the video, the startup has opted to switch to a more traditional 150 kilowatts peak, 50 kilowatts continuous inboard motor from Vitesco's Technologies for its launch edition vehicles. This will make all launch editions front-wheel drive, with Steve Fambro promising an all-wheel drive variant still planned for the future. While Aptera says it's open to in-wheel motors for the future and it will be able to accelerate production plans with the new inboard motor, it's honestly not looking good for a vehicle that was supposedly near to production. The latest report from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in the US, or FERC for short, shows that solar and wind power combined now makes up more than 20% of the US's total grid generation capacity. In its latest update, FERC shows that during the first 5 months of this year, 10,669 megawatts of solar, 2,095 megawatts of wind, 212 megawatts of hydropower, and 3 megawatts of biomass generation was added to the US electrical grid. In fact, of all of the new generation capacity added to the US grid this year, just over 94% came from renewables. Renewables are expected to hit 36% of the grid mix in the next few years. Our short shorts are coming in a second, but first, a word from the 10th annual Tesla raffle from GZ Chicago, where you can get the chance to win your choice of any of Tesla's currently in production passenger vehicles. That's a Tesla Model S, 3, X, Y, or Cybertruck, or $50,000 in cash for those who would rather spend their prize funds on a different EV or perhaps something else entirely. GZ Chicago is a non-profit that focuses on empowering individuals and families in need towards self-sufficiency, utilising a wide range of different services ranging from free food, furniture and clothing to assistance navigating government programs and finding new employment, among many more services. For your chance to win the vehicle of your choice, head to ccraffle.com, where you can use the code TRANSPORTEVOLVED to get $25 discount off 2 tickets or $500 off 15 tickets. There are only 9,999 tickets available, and the draw will take place on September 9th. So make sure you get your tickets today. And now it's time for short shorts. GM executives confirmed that they are putting the brakes on plans to make the Chevrolet Silverado EV and GMC Denali EV at the former Bolt EV production facility, citing concerns about regulatory changes and demand. For now, lower volume production will continue at GM's Factory Zero instead. Chinese battery firm Farasis Energy has announced its completed testing of a new NCM battery cell chemistry designed for EVs that it says will be capable of travelling more than 1 million miles over 15 years while retaining over 70% of the cell's original capacity. Tesla's delayed Robotaxi reveal event has now officially been scheduled for early October. Originally due to get revealed in a few weeks' time, the reveal plans were pushed back to October 10th, with Tesla stating the extra time would facilitate improvements in the vehicle's capabilities. Cadillac has unveiled the Cadillac Soleil concept, its latest EV. Being a concept car, there are no specs, but it's a 2+2 drop top with massive wheels finished in Manila cream, a paint colour that was originally offered on Cadillac models in the late 1950s. Tesla has now received all of the necessary legal exemptions from Transport Canada in order to begin sales of the Tesla Cybertruck in the nation. Due to its steer-by-wire system, it needed special exemption from Canada's minimum steering angle requirements. Volkswagen and XPeng have announced a joint platform that will see the two firms work together on a new vehicle architecture based on 2 of Volkswagen's existing platforms. A new jointly designed EV could debut for the Chinese market in just 2 years' time. Alphabet, parent company of Google, has confirmed that it will be investing another $5 billion into the Waymo autonomous vehicle subsidiary. Waymo, born out of Google's self-driving vehicle project, has close on 20 years of experience in the field. Vermont has updated its incentive programs to offer residents whose cars were destroyed in last year's devastating Hurricane Beryl floods the chance to get up to $6,000 in additional incentives to replace those vehicles with an EV instead. Primagy Solar and Quinbrook Infrastructure Partners have confirmed that the Gemini Solar Plus storage project in Clark County, Nevada, is now fully operational. The largest co-located solar and storage project in the U.S., it will help provide clean power to the region. Chevrolet has made a bit of a tweak to the leasing deal for its Silverado EV, with the effective price of the RST variant dropping by the equivalent of $41 per month over its previous pricing deal. The problem? That lease is still very, very expensive to get your hands on one. The 3-wheeled human-electric hybrid vehicle, known as the ELF, might be back from the dead. According to reporting this week, the vehicle's original designer, Rob Cotter, has purchased back the IP from the company which previously owned it, and is now looking to raise capital to bring the vehicle back to production. As temperatures soar across the northern hemisphere, many Tesla owners have taken to putting a wet towel over supercharger plugs to try and improve their charging speed by lowering the temperature inside the charging handle. Now Tesla is officially warning customers not to do it, stating that they increase the risk of overheating or damage to the charging station and the car. Chevrolet's Equinox EV has just been given a new lease deal for July, making it easier to get behind the wheel. As Cars Direct noted this week, the entry-level Equinox 2 LT can now be leased from as little as $239 per month for 2 years. As Republicans on Capitol Hill reel and rage against President Biden's announcement he will not seek re-election and instead choose to endorse Vice President Harris for the presidential campaign, a bill has been introduced to use the Congressional Review Act to nullify all EV tax credit rules, essentially ending EV incentives. But it's unlikely to pass the two-thirds majority needed to overcome an inevitable presidential veto. A Ford F-150 Lightning wearing Korean test plates has been spotted being driven near a Hyundai Kia test facility. This suggests that either company are benchmarking the pickup to compare against an all-electric truck. Neither firm have confirmed such a vehicle. Chargepoint has just celebrated the opening of its 1 millionth charging station on the network. One of the oldest EV charging providers in the world, it currently operates charging stations for clients in Europe and North America, with both level 2 and fast charging provision. Porshce has confirmed that it's scaling back its goal of having 80% of its sales all-electric by 2030. While it's being careful to never say never, it admitted this week that it now believes that goal was a little too ambitious and that the EV transition will take a little longer. Meanwhile, Lucid CEO Peter Rawlinson gave an interview this week to CarWaz at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and in it doubled down on his hopes for the company. He states that he believes Lucid is ultimately not a niche luxury company and promised a more affordable model is in the works, claiming Lucid could eventually sell 1 million EVs per year. Rivian has opened its first charging outpost, a location offering both EV charging but also a place to stop and wait while that charging takes place. The first, near Yosemite National Park, offers a play area for children, refreshments and much more. Despite pushing back its goals for 2030, Porsche was eagerly showcasing its fourth-generation Cayenne this week, a car that it says will only be offered as an EV. The first prototypes, fully camouflaged, have already begun testing in Europe. BYD has launched its first MPV. Called the M6, it will go on sale in Indonesia, with the model possibly launching in other markets at some point in the future. While the new M6 will only be a battery electric vehicle, it did have a predecessor of the same name that was powered by gasoline. Despite lower sales this year, Tesla has increased the prices of the Model S and Model X by $2,000 across the board. In the last 6 months, both models have struggled to sell in high volumes, with Tesla Cybertruck, Model 3 and Model Y proving far more popular. BYD has announced a noticeable upgrade to its Yuan-Up family of affordable EVs. With entry-level models starting from less than $14,000 equivalent, the longest range variant can now travel far further than its predecessor per charge. Tesla is gaming the U.S. federal tax credit system to allow some of its more expensive models to meet tax credit limits. While the rules state hardware options contribute to MSRP, software upgrades do not, so Tesla is offering free hardware upgrades for customers who order their vehicles with FSD. Zeekr, sibling brand to Volvo and Polestar, have officially launched in North America. But before those of you in the US and Canada get too excited, the launch is currently limited to Mexico, where you can now buy the Zeekr 001 or Zeekr X. And no, you can't import them north of the border. Xiaomi, known for its smartphones more than its vehicles, has just launched a new, powerful variant of its first electric car, the SU7. Called the SU7 Ultra, it promises 1.15 megawatts of power at the wheels and all of the speed and acceleration those specs would suggest. As part of its Q2 earnings call, General Motors confirmed that it believes the next cycle of EV growth is coming for the company, but didn't state exactly when that would be. Based on what we can tell, however, for now GM is leaning heavily into its Cadillac Lyriq and Chevy Equinox EV models. Kia's EV5 SUV, already on sale in China, is now facing delays for other markets. While the vehicle had originally been slated to launch in overseas markets this summer, it's now being delayed until the tail end of the year, with some sources suggesting it may even be early next year before non-Chinese customers can buy one. A judge in California has ruled that Tesla's case against Rivian for allegedly stealing its trade secrets and employees can go to trial. Rivian had tried to have the case dismissed, but the Santa Clara County Superior Court has ruled the case must continue to trial. With a new government now in charge of the UK, ministers are already looking at reinstating 2030 as the end of sales for new internal combustion engine vehicles. The previous Conservative government had pushed the date back to 2035. Tesla's CEO was busy making a whole lot of promises in the Tesla earnings call this week, claiming Tesla's Semi, its affordable EV, its next-generation Roadster, unsupervised full self-driving, Optimus robot and Robotaxi will all be in production next year. History seems to suggest otherwise. Stellantis has applied for a new patent for a new type of aerodynamic feature for pickup trucks, specifically electric pickup trucks that could improve range. It's a vehicle rear step that doubles as an automatic diffuser at speed, reducing drag and thus power consumption. Chile has signed a new agreement with the US that will see lithium sourced from Chilean mines treated as if it was sourced and mined in the US for the purposes of US federal tax incentives for EVs. This means more EVs will be eligible for the US federal tax credit program moving forwards. Many automakers, including Hyundai, are said to be hedging their bets on plans for new factories, fearful that if the presidential election in November results in a second Trump presidency, EVs will no longer receive any incentives and perhaps even disincentives. Even Tesla has confirmed it's halting plans for a Mexican facility until after the election. That said, though, not everyone feels that way. Chargepoint CEO and Ford CEO have both noted independently this week that regardless of where the election falls this November, the transition to EVs is inevitable. My response? Yes. Yes, we can influence which way this goes. And those are your short shorts. There will be more next week. Our final two stories are next, but first, a quick word from one of today's video sponsors, Atmos Financial. Imagine a bank where your savings not only grow, but also go towards growing a greener world. That's exactly what Atmos Financial does for you. With Atmos, every dollar in your checking and savings account is funding projects that light up lives with solar energy rather than fossil fuels. Atmos is banking that builds a better tomorrow with every swipe of your card, because it's committed to investing 100% into clean, equitable and sustainable progress. With a 3.5% savings rate and a mobile app, your finances and the climate can go hand in hand. It charges no monthly fees, and there are no minimums keeping you awake at night, and it offers accessible solar loans for those who want to give the fossil fuel industry the ultimate middle finger. By joining Atmos using the link below, you're not only choosing a smarter way to bank, you're planting seeds for a healthier earth. And every sign-up supports this channel, so we can keep bringing you the content you love. I'm personally a customer, and I love knowing that I'm helping save money while also making sure my money doesn't end up funding the fossil fuel industry. And now it's time for those last two stories. Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe has been pretty busy this week giving interviews, and we're learning more about what we can expect from the brand moving forwards. The first bit of news comes from the announcement that the Rivian R2 pre-order book now sits at well above 100,000 hand raisers, suggesting that if Rivian can convert those to confirmed orders, the R2 is going to be quite the popular vehicle and, given it's nearly one half the price of the R1S, it should be. The second piece of news comes from the confirmation that Rivian intends to bring the R3X, the performance-oriented hot hatch-esque R3, to market as quickly as possible, with the R3X expected to launch before the R3. The reasons for this are pretty obvious. The R3X will be pricier, more performance-oriented, and if it delivers on promises, it will be pretty darned good. And finally, nobody likes breakdowns, and for those looking from outside into the EV world, there's a common misconception that the reason you see EVs on the back of tow trucks is because they ran out of charge. That not only fuels myths about range anxiety, but it's patently false. A new study this week from Toronto-based Vertical Scope discovers that EVs aren't stranded all that often, and when they are, it's usually for something other than running out of charge. It surveyed 1,200 EV owners and found that while 9.1% had been stranded at some point by their EV, the overwhelming majority of them weren't out of charge. Instead, those who were left at the side of the road often found it was because of a software or hardware fault with their vehicle, highlighting the gap that legacy automakers often have when it comes to building reliable vehicle software. Tesla and BMW cars were least likely of all EVs to find themselves in a pickle, but GM-based EVs, Nissan EVs and Fisker Ocean EVs were most frequently stranded at the side of the road. And on that note, we are in fact done with today's show. As always, a massive thank you to the Electric Vehicle Association for sponsoring today's show. They've been advocating for EVs since 1967 and firmly believe that our future depends on us making the switch to clean green EVs today. The EVA can help you find someone near to you that can help you make that switch to electric. It can help you become an EV educator, and it can point you in the direction of monthly meetups for like-minded EV fans. Plus, if you become a member, you'll gain access to a clean energy and EV loan program set up between the EVA and the Colorado Clean Energy Credit Union. You can find out more by heading to myeva.org. And thanks to the 10th annual Chesed Chicago Tesla raffle. Follow the link on screen and use Transport Evolved at checkout to get your discounted tickets today. And thanks to Atmos Financial. Follow the link below and make your bank cleaner and greener today. As usual, if you are someone who made your own transition to clean energy or greener transportation this week, whatever it was, congratulations. We would love to hear from you and your stories. If you'd like to support the channel directly, and YouTube ad revenue is definitely not paying the bills right now, we're down about $600 this month, please consider supporting us from $1 a month over on Patreon, which is about $10.08 a year. We are viewer supported because we believe the information we produce should be free for everyone to consume. So if you do support us, thank you. You make this possible. No lie. And in the light of us turning off YouTube comments for our own safety and everyone's sanity, why not follow us over to Discord, where the conversation is far nicer? Our swag store is also there for your swag-related needs, including our newest t-shirt about charging accessibility and universal design. And coming next month, a special t-shirt design just for everything electric. And if you are coming to Everything Electric Canada 2024 in Vancouver this September, follow the link on screen right now and use the discount code TransportEvolved to get 20% off your tickets. We are going to be getting 100% of all the tickets sold using that code. So if you buy yours with the code, you're supporting the channel, and that means we'll be able to see you in about 7 weeks. We'll be back next week as usual with content going out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And to finish, remember that you are valid and loved and you have a place in this world, even if lawmakers, pundits and talking heads want you to not exist. This past week it's been very different. And there is a little bit of hope, but know that your existence is resistance. And that resistance, if you're able, can be bolstered by making sure you're registered to vote this year if you're in the US. It is part of the democratic process to have your say, regardless of whom you vote for. But let me tell you, you can do it, honestly. Until next time, stay safe regardless of your identity or who you love. Be an amazing ally, be kind, and please, for the sake of everyone's future, keep evolving.